The call came on December 10th, 2 weeks before Christmas. I was in my apartment, reviewing quarterly reports from my investment portfolio, when Mom's number appeared on my screen. "Sarah, we need to talk about Christmas," she said. No greeting. No warmth. I set down my tablet. "What about it?" "Well, your brother David and Jennifer are hosting this year. And their family will be there. The Harrisons. You know, Jennifer's parents own Harrison Industries. Very successful. Very traditional." I waited. "The thing is, sweetheart, they're not really used to accommodating people with special needs. Their home isn't set up for wheelchairs and with all the stairs and the formal dinner setup." "You're uninviting me from Christmas," I said flatly. "It's not like that. It's just that having you there with all your equipment and medications and needing help would just make everyone uncomfortable. You understand, right? It's David's big moment. Jennifer's father is considering a major investment in the firm. We can't have anything distracting." I looked down at my wheelchair. At the medical equipment stationed around my apartment. At the life I'd built despite everything. "I understand perfectly," I said. "I knew you would. We'll do something, just the three of us, after the holidays. When things calm down." I hung up without responding. The accident happened when I was 19. A drunk driver ran a red light while I was walking home from my campus library. One moment I was a college sophomore with a full athletic scholarship. The next I was in ICU with a shattered spine and a 15% chance of ever walking again. I beat those odds. Sort of. I regained enough function to walk short distances with assistance. But chronic pain, nerve damage, and unpredictable mobility issues became my new reality. The wheelchair wasn't always necessary, but it was always nearby. My family's reaction was complex. At first there was sympathy. Hospital visits. Concerned phone calls. But as months turned into years and my recovery plateaued at functional but disabled rather than miraculously healed, their patience wore thin. "You're not even trying," my brother David said once, watching me struggle with physical therapy. "My friend's cousin had a spinal injury and he runs marathons now. Everyone's injury is different," I explained for the 100th time. "Or everyone's determination is different," he replied. My mother was more subtle. She never said I wasn't trying hard enough. She just forgot to invite me to things. Family photos were scheduled when I had medical appointments. Vacations were booked to places that just wouldn't be accessible, honey, you understand. My father had died 3 years before my accident. Sometimes I wondered if things would have been different if he were still alive. He'd always been the one who saw me, really saw me. After he died, he left each of us, Mom, David, and me, equal portions of his estate. About $400,000 each. Mom spent hers on a new house. David used his as seed money for his financial advisory firm, Mitchell Financial Advisors. I did something different. While my family assumed I was living off disability payments and my inheritance, slowly burning through Dad's money on medical bills and a modest lifestyle, I was actually building an empire. I'd always been good with numbers. Before the accident, I'd been a mathematics major with a minor in economics. After the accident, stuck in a hospital bed for months, then confined to my apartment during recovery, I had nothing but time. I started small. Online trading. Market analysis. I consumed financial news like oxygen. I noticed patterns. I made calculated risks. And I won far more often than I lost. Within 2 years, I'd turned my $400,000 inheritance into $2.1 million. By year 5, I'd founded my own investment firm under an LC, Cornerstone Capital Ventures. I stayed completely anonymous, operating through lawyers and fund managers. No one knew the reclusive investor behind several major venture capital successes was a 27-year-old woman in a wheelchair. My portfolio included stakes in 7 tech startups, 4 real estate development projects, and strategic investments in 11 established businesses that needed capital infusion. One of those businesses was Mitchell Financial Advisors. 3 years ago, David's firm was struggling. He'd overextended, made poor investment choices for clients, and was facing potential bankruptcy. He needed $5.2 million to cover losses and restructure. He never asked me for help. Why would he? I was just his disabled sister living off Dad's money. Instead, he found an angel investor through a private equity firm. The investor was anonymous, operating through Cornerstone Capital Ventures. The terms were generous. Low interest, minimal interference, patient capital. That investor was me. I saved my brother's business and he never knew. I did it partly because he was family. Partly because it was a sound investment, his firm had good bones, just poor management. And partly because some part of me still hoped that one day, they'd see me as something other than their family's burden. Every quarter, I received reports on Mitchell Financial Advisors. The firm had recovered beautifully. David had hired a better management team. They'd landed major clients. The Harrison family, specifically Jennifer's father Richard Harrison, had brought in substantial business. My $5.2 million investment had helped build the foundation that now impressed the very people who thought I'd be too uncomfortable to have at Christmas dinner. After Mom's call, I sat in my apartment for exactly 10 minutes. Not crying. Not angry. Just calculating. I pulled up my investment portfolio. Mitchell Financial Advisors showed a healthy return. My capital had grown to $7.3 million in current valuation. The firm managed over $200 million in client assets now. I opened my email and found my wealth manager, Patricia Chin. Patricia was one of 3 people who knew my real identity. She'd been managing my public-facing investments for 6 years, and she'd never once treated me differently because of my disability. She cared about my mind, my strategy, my results. Patricia, I typed, I need to schedule a call regarding Mitchell Financial Advisors. Full capital withdrawal. I want clean exit terms prepared by end of business tomorrow. Her response came in 3 minutes. Confirm this is not a drill. This is your brother's firm. $5.2 million withdrawal will likely trigger significant operational issues for them. Are you certain? I stared at my phone. At the blank calendar alert where Christmas with family used to be. I'm certain, I typed. They've made their priorities clear. I'm simply adjusting mine. Patricia worked fast. By noon the next day I had withdrawal terms on my desk. As the primary investor through Cornerstone Capital Ventures, I had the right to withdraw my capital with 30 days notice, or immediately with a 12% early withdrawal penalty. I chose immediate. The penalty would cost me $624,000, but I didn't care. This wasn't about maximum profit. This was about something else entirely. The firm will receive formal notice today at 4 p.m., Patricia explained over our video call. Per the investment agreement, they'll have 72 hours to secure replacement capital or begin structured asset liquidation to meet the withdrawal demand. And if they can't secure replacement funding, they'll have to return client assets, close accounts, likely lay off 60% of staff. The firm won't collapse entirely, but it'll be reduced to roughly 25% of current operational capacity. I nodded slowly. And the timing? This close to Christmas. Most investors are locked into year-end positions. Banks are closing their quarterly books. It's the worst possible time to seek emergency capital. Patricia paused. Sarah, I have to ask. Don't, I said quietly. Just execute the withdrawal. At 4:07 p.m. my phone lit up with a text from David. We need to talk. Now. I didn't respond to David's text. Said I waited. At 6:32 p.m. my apartment buzzer rang. Then my phone. Then my door started pounding. Sarah, open this door. I know you're in there. I wheeled to the door and opened it. David stood in my hallway, still in his suit from work, his face red, his phone clutched in his hand. Behind him stood Mom, looking worried and confused. What the hell did you do? David demanded, pushing past me into my apartment. You'll need to be more specific, I said calmly, closing the door. Cornerstone Capital Ventures. They're withdrawing $5.2 million from my firm. Effective immediately. That's my primary investor. That's the capital that's kept us operational for 3 years. I said nothing. Mom looked between us. I don't understand. What does this have to do with Sarah? David wasn't listening to her. He was staring at me and I watched the calculation happening behind his eyes. The withdrawal notice came 2 hours after Mom called you about Christmas. That's not a coincidence. No, I agreed. It's not. You. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You're telling me you're somehow connected to a multi-million-dollar investment firm? I wheeled to my desk and picked up a folder. Inside were copies of incorporation documents, investment agreements, and quarterly reports. I handed it to him. Cornerstone Capital Ventures is my firm. I founded it 7 years ago. I am the sole owner and primary investor. 3 years ago, when Mitchell Financial Advisors was facing bankruptcy, I invested $5.2 million to save it. You're welcome. David opened the folder. His hands shook as he flipped through pages. Mom grabbed the folder from him. This says you own. How is this possible? Dad's inheritance, I said simply. You spent yours on a house. David spent his on his business. I invested mine. Then I kept investing. I'm currently worth approximately $43 million. The silence in my apartment was absolute. David found his voice first. You've been secretly rich this entire time? Not secretly. Privately. There's a difference. For 7 years you've let us think you were just living off disability payments. You never asked, I interrupted. You assumed. I let you. Mom sank onto my couch. But why? Why would you hide this? I looked at her. Really looked at her. Because I wanted to see who you'd be when you thought I had nothing to offer you. When I was just your disabled daughter who needed accommodations and made people uncomfortable. That's not fair, Mom whispered. Isn't it? I turned to David. You've been running a successful firm for 3 years on my money. You've been impressing the Harrisons, building your reputation, expanding your client base. All funded by your sister's investment. The sister who's too uncomfortable to have at Christmas dinner. David's face went from red to pale. I didn't know. Exactly. You didn't know I was your investor, so you had no problem excluding me. But you had no problem taking my money. Sarah, please, Mom started. If you'd known, you'd have what? Included me? Treated me like family? I shook my head. That's the problem, Mom. Your love is conditional. Your acceptance is transactional. I'm only valuable when I have something you need. David was still staring at the documents. The withdrawal. Sarah will lose the Harrison account. Jennifer's father will pull his investments. We'll have to lay off 15 people right before Christmas. The firm will survive, I said. At about 25% capacity. You'll keep your core clients, your main office. You'll just be back to where you started. Where you would have been if I hadn't saved you 3 years ago. You can't do this, he said desperately. I pulled out my phone and showed him the withdrawal agreement. Actually, I can. It's all legal. All properly documented. You signed these terms when you accepted the investment. Immediate withdrawal with penalty clause. It's on page 47 of your investor agreement. Mom stood up. Sarah, honey, we can fix this. We'll include you in Christmas. We'll make accommodations. No. What? I don't want your pity invitation. I don't want you to include me because it's suddenly convenient, or because you need something from me. I wanted you to include me because I'm your daughter. Because I'm David's sister. Because family shouldn't be conditional. David's phone started ringing. He looked at the screen. It's Richard Harrison. You should probably answer that, I said. I imagine he's heard about your investor crisis. Those things travel fast in financial circles. He answered. I watched his face crumble as he listened. Sir, I understand. Of course. I'll call you after the holidays. He hung up. He's pulling his accounts. All of them. He says he can't have his family's wealth managed by a firm with unstable financial backing. That's unfortunate, I said. Unfortunate. David's voice rose. You're destroying my business. Over a Christmas dinner. No, I said quietly. You destroyed our relationship by making me conditional. The business consequences are just math. Mom was crying now. Please, Sarah. Tell us what we need to do to fix this. I looked at both of them. There's nothing to fix, Mom. You made your choice. You chose comfort over family. Appearance over acceptance. You've been making that choice for 8 years. Every time you forgot to include me, every time you scheduled around me, every time you made me feel like my disability was an inconvenience you had to manage. We never meant. Intent doesn't matter. Impact does. And the impact is that I spent 8 years watching you tolerate me at best, exclude me at worst. The only thing that's changed is now you know I was never the burden you thought I was. I was the one keeping David's dream alive. David slumped into a chair. What do you want? Money? For us to grovel? What? I don't want anything from you, I said. That's what you're not understanding. I don't need you. I never did. I have a business I built. Friends who value me. A life that's full and successful. I gave you the chance to be part of that life and you chose not to be. So that's it. Mom asked. You're just cutting us off? You cut me off first, I said. I'm just making it financial instead of emotional. They left 20 minutes later. David kept trying to negotiate. Mom kept crying. I stayed calm, stayed firm, and eventually they ran out of arguments. After they left, I sat in my apartment and waited. At 11:47 p.m. my phone rang. Krishan. It's done, she said. Full withdrawal processed. Funds will be liquid by Monday. I've already had 3 other firms call asking if we're looking to reinvest. We are, I said. But not in family businesses. Understood. She paused. How are you holding up? I'm fine. Sarah. I smiled despite myself. Patricia could always tell. I'm sad. And relieved. And absolutely certain I did the right thing. For what it's worth, I agree. I've seen too many families treat their disabled members as liabilities rather than human beings. You deserved better. Thank you, Patricia. Merry Christmas, Sarah. Merry Christmas. Over the next 48 hours, I watched the consequences unfold through carefully placed sources and public information. Mitchell Financial Advisors issued a statement about restructuring due to investor reallocation. David laid off 12 employees. The Harrison family withdrew $47 million in managed assets. 2 other major clients followed. Jennifer's parents canceled their planned investment in David's firm. Worse, they started quietly suggesting to their social circle that Mitchell Financial Advisors was unstable. In the world of wealth management, reputation is everything. By December 23, David's firm had shrunk from 18 employees to 6, from $200 million in managed assets to $51 million. Mom called me 17 times. I didn't answer. David sent emails ranging from apologetic to furious to desperate. I didn't respond. On December 24, my doorbell rang. I checked the camera. It was Jennifer, David's wife. Alone. I opened the door. I'm not here to beg, she said immediately. Or negotiate. I just want to talk. 5 minutes. I let her in. Jennifer sat across from me, poised even in crisis. She'd always been kind to me in a distant sort of way. Never cruel but never particularly warm. David told me everything, she said. About the investment. About you. About all of it. I waited. I want you to know I didn't know about Christmas. About Mom uninviting you. I knew we were hosting, but I assumed the whole family was invited. When I found out yesterday what actually happened, I was horrified. But not surprised? I asked. She hesitated. No. Not entirely. I've watched how they treat you. I've made excuses for it. Told myself it wasn't my place to interfere. I was wrong. Why are you here, Jennifer? Because you deserve an apology from someone in this family who means it. I'm sorry. For not speaking up. For benefiting from your exclusion. Because let's be honest, having a smaller, more polished Christmas made my parents happy and I let that matter. I'm sorry. I studied her. He meant it. I could see it in her eyes. Thank you, I said quietly. I'm not asking you to restore David's funding, she continued. Honestly, losing the firm might be the best thing for him. For us. He's been so obsessed with impressing my father with building this empire that he forgot why he started. He wanted to help people manage their money wisely. Somewhere along the way it became about status. What will you do? Downsize. Refocus. David's thinking about going back to basics. Smaller client list, personalized service, the things he was actually good at before he tried to become a wealth management mogul. She smiled sadly. We'll be fine. We'll just be smaller. More honest. She stood to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, I think you're extraordinary. What you've built, who you are, everything you've overcome, it's remarkable. And I'm ashamed I didn't say that before when it would have mattered more. After she left, I sat in the quiet of my apartment and felt something shift in my chest. Not forgiveness. Not reconciliation. But something softer than the anger I'd been carrying. I spent Christmas with my chosen family. Marcus and Tanya Chin, Patricia's brother and sister-in-law, hosted at their accessible, welcoming home. Their kids treated my wheelchair like the boring non-issue it should be. We ate too much food, played chaotic board games, and laughed until my sides hurt. Dr. Ramon, my physical therapist of 8 years, stopped by with his husband. My favorite success story, he said, hugging me. Though I'm taking zero credit for your financial empire. You taught me that limitations are just parameters to work within, I said. That applies to more than just physical therapy. My best friend Keisha flew in from Seattle. She'd been there through the worst of my recovery, through every family disappointment, through every milestone they'd missed. You did it, she said quietly as we watched the chaos of the Chin family's gift exchange. You built a whole life. A real one. I did, I agreed. Any regrets? About David's firm? I thought about it honestly. No. I gave him a chance to be family without knowing I had money. He failed that test. That's on him. On December 28th, I received a letter. Not an email. An actual handwritten letter, delivered to my apartment. It was from David. Sir, I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking you to change your mind. I just need you to know I understand now. For 8 years I saw your disability. Not you. Not your mind, your talent, your determination. Just the wheelchair. The accommodations. The inconvenience. I told myself I was being practical. That I was focusing on building my career and my family. But the truth is I was being a coward. It was easier to see you as less than to confront my own discomfort with your injury. When Dad died, you lost him too. Then you lost your mobility. And instead of being your brother, I became one more thing you lost. I don't expect forgiveness. I haven't earned it. But I want you to know I see you now. Really see you. And what I see is someone who took unimaginable loss and turned it into unimaginable success. Not despite your disability, but incorporating it into who you are. You're the strongest person I know. You always were. I'm sorry it took losing everything to figure that out. David. I read the letter 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe someday we'd rebuild something. But not today. Not yet. I had a business to run. Investments to manage. A life I'd built on my own terms. On December 30th, I met with Patricia to discuss new investment opportunities. There's a small medical device startup, she said. They're developing improved wheelchair technology. They need $3.8 million in seed funding. I smiled. Tell me more. As she laid out the details, I thought about the girl I'd been before the accident. The one who thought her value came from her athletic scholarship, her able body, her conventional path to success. That girl was gone. In her place was someone who'd learned that value isn't given, it's built. That family isn't DNA, it's choice. That disability doesn't define you, how you respond to it does. I'd spent 8 years proving I didn't need them to see my worth. The irony was that in proving it to them, I'd proven it to myself. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Can we talk? Please. I looked at it for a long moment, then set my phone face down on Patricia's desk. So, I said, returning my attention to the investment proposal. This wheelchair technology. What's their competitive advantage? Patricia smiled and flipped to the next page of the presentation. The meeting lasted 2 hours. We funded the startup. We discussed 3 other opportunities. We planned the next quarter's strategy. And somewhere in the middle of it, I realized I was happy. Not because I'd gotten revenge. Not because I'd proven my family wrong. But because I'd built a life that didn't need them to be complete. That was the real power reversal. Not the money. Not the dramatic withdrawal. It was knowing that I was enough. I'd always been enough. They just couldn't see it until I took away what they needed. And by then I no longer needed them to. 4 months later, I received one more letter. This one was from Mom. Shorter. Simpler. I understand if you never forgive me. But I need you to know I'm in therapy. Learning why I made you feel invisible. Why I prioritized comfort over love. It doesn't change what I did. But I'm trying to change who I am. You don't owe me anything. Not your time. Not your forgiveness. Not another chance. But if you ever want to talk, I'll be here. Not as the mother who failed you. Just as someone who's learning to do better. I'm proud of you. I should have said that every day. I'm saying it now. Kept that letter too. Maybe someday I'd call her. Maybe we'd carefully, slowly build something new. But that day wasn't today. Today, I had a meeting with a brilliant young engineer who designed accessible housing technology. She was in a wheelchair too. She reminded me of myself at 25, brilliant, determined, invisible to investors who couldn't see past her disability. I was about to change that for her. Because that's what I did now. I saw the people others overlooked. I invested in the dreams others dismissed. I built empires where others saw only limitations. And I did it all from a wheelchair they once thought made me weak. Turns out they were never measuring the right kind of strength.